People. Welcome to the Stitch People podcast. I'm Lizzie Bean, your host and the founder of Stitch People, where our goal with cross-stitching is to inspire your personal creativity, and our goal with podcasting is to help you make some new friends while you're at it. Before I introduce today's guest, I just want to put a little bug in your ear to make sure you're following us on social media, especially on the Facebook page and on our Instagram, and also keeping an eye on your inbox. We are going to be sending out some more newsletters. We've got some announcements coming up about new patterns, new releases, events, classes, all sorts of fun stuff coming down the pike. I don't want any of you to miss a thing. So make sure you're following us and have your notifications turned on and that kind of stuff. Keep an eye out for all the cool plans. I also want to give you a little reminder that you can go to stitchpeople.com/podcast and leave us some feedback. You can submit a question. I'm thinking of doing some bonus kind of episodes, answering questions you might ask on the podcast webpage. And you can also submit to be on the next season of the Stitch People podcast to release this time next year. So go to stitchpeople.com/podcast, submit feedback, questions, all that kind of stuff, and keep an eye on social media and email for fun upcoming announcements from us. I also want to say that in this particular podcast episode, I ran into some recording trouble, so the quality is going to be just a little bit different than the others. It is a bit of an outlier, just a mistake on my end with how I recorded this one. Sorry about that, and thank you, Brandon, for fixing it. Audio engineers for the win. So now that we have all that business out of the way, let's move on to the episode. Today's episode is absolutely lovely. I think you're going to really like it and find yourself inspired and pleasantly surprised and delighted by all of the surprising things about Marina. She's an incredible person. She's moved all over. I don't want to ruin anything for you. You're just going to love it. So let's get on in to our interview with Marina, and you too can bask in her calm and peaceful and friendly presence. Welcome, Marina. Thank you so much for being willing to chat with me today. I'm excited to get to know you a little better.
It is really good to be here.
Oh, thank you. Where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
I am in Vancouver, BC, Canada.
Okay, that's pretty far north. Is it freezing cold there already?
No, Vancouver is actually really great for weather. We get a lot of, it's sort of like Seattle.
Okay.
A lot of rain, but not a lot of cold. And
Okay.
I mean, I think it was 7 degrees the other day, and that was wearing my parka, so
all right,
spoiled.
that's not so bad. Okay, I feel like, yeah, Seattle, I guess, is more mild than, say, like, northern Idaho or something like that, where it's more inland and you get the snow. Are you kind of born and raised Vancouver area?
No, I was born and raised in Bulgaria, actually.
Oh, wow.
My family... Yeah, my family moved to Toronto in 2004.
Okay.
And I lived there all through high school, did my university in Ontario, and then worked a little bit. And then at one point we were like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So my husband, my dog, and I moved to Vancouver 2 years ago.
What was the appeal in Vancouver over Toronto? Because both those are Vancouver and Toronto kind of the biggest cities, or Quebec?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Vancouver is, I think, the third biggest,
okay,
maybe fourth up there.
Okay.
I guess Toronto became a little too big and too spread out for us.
Okay.
At one point, I had to commute 20 kilometers one way to work, and that was not fun.
I'm gonna Google. Let's see, 20 kilometers in miles is 12 and a half miles.
I feel like that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and depending on if you were to live in, like you said, somewhere that isn't quite so spread out. I mean, like people in Manhattan in New York, you just take the subway, down to like there are areas that are easier to get around with easier commutes. So
yeah,
absolutely.
This road was the 12 miles on the highway, so it was traffic both ways.
Yeah.
And a lot of stress that was just really not needed. And then my husband was able to go back to school, and a Vancouver college got him in. So we decided to make the move.
Well, there you go. And has it been what you hoped it would be?
I think it's been better.
Oh, that's what you want to hear. That's great.
We moved here in late 2019, so just before the pandemic started. And considering how stressful the pandemic has been for so many, it was actually relaxing compared to what we came out of the past 2 years. So I think that that just on its own tells you.
Good. Yeah. Well, and nice timing. Nice that you were able to get to a place that you would rather be, especially, when quarantines and lockdowns and all that stuff, that you're in a happier place just to begin with. Yeah. That's great. That's serendipitous. Good timing. So was it a difficult transition to move to Canada from Bulgaria when you were young?
I was 15 at the time. Okay. So being a teenager is already pretty difficult.
Yeah.
When you're in it, you don't know how difficult it is, but then you look back and you're like, oh, really?
Right.
I think it had its ups and downs.
Yeah.
I know my parents took about 5 years before they were able to say, okay, I like the job that I'm in.
Okay. Yeah.
They did a lot of survival jobs and a lot of 2-3 months here, a year there. It was a lot of stress that way.
Yeah.
But they were able to buy a house 7 years ago, I guess.
Oh, wow. Good.
Settled down a little bit more. And yeah.
Awesome. So overall, it's been positive.
Yeah, I think so. I was able to do grade 10 to grade 12 here in Canada. Okay. So university wasn't a big stressor in terms of English and stuff. So
go right into it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think it was a really good move. It wasn't easy in any stretch of the imagination, but it was definitely worth it, I think.
That's great. I love that. That's so, it's like you said, when you are a teenager, you kind of don't know how hard it is. And I'm sure, my family, we moved, granted it was still within the US, but we moved from New York to Utah when I was 11. And as a kid, you don't really get a say, it's just mom and dad decided this. So you kind of have to adapt to a certain extent, but also it's looking back, you don't realize wow, that's not only a hard time of life, but hard on a kid. And I mean, I had the benefit of being even just a couple of years younger than you were, I think has probably made it easier just because young kids are so adaptable, but teenagers, you're have an identity and all this and friendships and all that. So I think it's very brave, very admirable and super cool. And I'm glad that you are reporting that it is good overall. That's great.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your crafting life. I'm assuming you're a cross stitcher.
I am. I actually brought a bunch of examples.
Really?
I only started cross stitching in early 2020.
Awesome.
I meant to bring my very first piece. It's a dragon. It's awesome.
Oh,
it's
cool.
It's this big, but it was, I just was I want to do cross stitching.
Yeah.
I have time now. So I did that project. And then I remembered one of my friends from lifeguarding back in Toronto was a cross stitcher, and she had found Stitch People. And she was telling me how she's making these portraits and she has every single dog there is in a book. And I was this is really cool. I don't understand how you have time to do this. Whatever. And I put it on the back burner.
Right, yeah.
And then in 2020, I was wait, what was that book that she was talking about? And I actually sat down and stalked her entire Instagram until I got to a portrait that she had posted, and she had mentioned the name.
Oh, cool.
Stitch People. So
that takes dedication. Well done.
Yeah. I had a lot of time on my hands at the time. So I found you, and then I was basically talking about Stitch People all the time. It was oh, the book is really nice, but it's kind of expensive. I don't know if I can justify buying it. This book is really cool. Look at this design someone made. And then my husband ended up getting me the book for our second wedding anniversary.
That's so nice.
And it was the hard copy hadn't arrived yet, but he forwarded me the email with the soft copy. And I was just
Just totally thrilled. That is great. Well, and husband points there that he's like paying attention and listening.
Yeah, well, he shut me up a little bit.
That's great. So what was it about cross stitching that drew you to it in the first place? Did somebody, I mean, you mentioned your friend was doing the Stitch People portraits, but you found like the dragon pattern and just sort of got into cross stitching generally before doing the portrait thing. Had you learned yet as like when you were younger, or like how was cross stitch on your radar to begin with?
I think the first time I was introduced to cross stitching was grade 2 or 3.
Okay.
In art class at school, we had to do little hearts that
fun.
were cross stitched. And I vividly remember my dad helping me with my assignment because, I don't know, I think he enjoyed it.
Love it.
And that was the first time I did it. And then I just, I don't even know what, that was the first and last time I did it for 20 years. And then I just was like, you know what? This seems like something that would take a while to complete a project, but I have time.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a good time to try it out. And then now, I just completed this one. It's
wow.
Can you see
yeah
it?
And I'm going to describe it just for people who are going to be listening and not watching. So it's got, let's see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 adults, and it looks like one tiny little child, a little like toddler, and then sort of a shorter child. So that's a pretty extensive family portrait, and everybody's layered all together. And will you tell us what it says at the bottom?
It says in Bulgarian, "Един запечатан миг щастие," which means one sealed moment of happiness.
Oh, I love that.
The picture is of my grandma and my grandpa.
Oh.
My grandpa passed away 2 years ago, and then this is my dad, who also passed away a few months prior to my grandpa.
Oh, that's hard.
My mom, my cousin, my younger cousin, myself, my sister, my aunt, and my grandma.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, and my uncle. So basically,
I like his glasses.
He always wears those glasses, so it's very like you see it and you know who it is, basically. But it took me the better part of 2 years to kind of relax and be okay with stitching my dad. Because after he passed, I wasn't sure if it's appropriate. And then I was on the Facebook group and I saw a few people post different variations of what they did. And I started warming up to the idea. Then I found this picture that we took in 2011, I think.
Oh, nice.
And there's 2 pictures of it, one with my dad missing and one with my uncle missing.
Oh, interesting.
So I kind of merged them together.
Yeah.
And
well, someone's got to be behind the camera, right?
Exactly. So I kind of because I really liked that picture, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stitch this. And then as I was stitching it, I was more and more comfortable with the fact that I'm stitching my dad and my grandpa who are not with us anymore.
Right.
So that was kind of like I actually almost ruined it yesterday.
No, yesterday. Oh my goodness, what happened?
I like to, or I don't like to. I just started doing this thing where you seal the back with this
cool.
shiny glue thing.
Yeah.
I was very absent-minded and I put that stuff on top of it. Oops. And I ironed it on and I was like, la la la. And I turned it back so I can just iron around the picture a little bit.
Yeah.
And I saw this mumbo jumbo of threads and I was like, no. I cried. I was so heartbroken. I cried so much.
It's like the end of the world.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to peel it off. I'm like, it's not coming off. The whole point is it's not going to come off, right? So Ian, who my husband, who was a little bit more level-minded at the time, a little bit less emotional. He Googled it and was like, what's the name of the glue? And I just handed him the packaging. I'm just like, Marina, you're like just wasted 2 months of work. And I was just like crying. It was
That's
bad.
a terrible feeling.
It was bad. But and I was just thinking about one of your, I think a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago, you said how cross stitching is not the end of the world. If your cross stitch gets ruined, whatever, just do it again. And I was trying to like pull those thoughts into my head, and I'm like, it's okay, Marina, you can just do it again. Like, I don't have any more time. Christmas is around the corner.
But yes. Well, I mean, and that you take that with a grain of salt, right? Like it's so much easier said than done to just like let it go and start over. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, and especially in the height of the moment, I can't imagine if like Spencer were to look at me and be like, it's okay. It's just cross stitch, just start over. I'd be like, go away. Like, you know, nothing. Because when you think it's ruined, it's like you said, months of your hard work, and it's the first piece that you did with your dad and your grandpa, and like there's a lot of emotional attachment and investment in that as well. Yeah. So I feel you on that. So
I was very fortunate that Ian just gave me a hug. Aww. And then looked at it. I was like, oh, you can fix it.
Oh, and good.
For those of you who have done this or may do this in the future, because I did it, if you get paper bags, like sandwich paper bags,
yeah,
you put it on top and iron it and then peel it off, the glue comes off. It takes like 6 tries. So you need 6 fresh pieces of paper.
And it just like sucks the glue out?
Yeah, like it's not perfect. I can definitely see how it's like more glued that compared to like.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I think.
But it's certainly not ruined by any stretch of like it's still beautiful to look at, and then you can frame it, and
it definitely gives me something to write about in the letter that I'm going to send to my grandma. I was like, this is what I created, and this is how I almost killed it.
I hope she gets a laugh, and I'm sure she's going to love it. And is that your grandmother who you're sending it to? Is that your father's mother?
It's actually on my mom's side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's my mom's parents, my mom's sister.
Nice.
And the cousins on my mom's side.
I love that. Oh, well, I hope they enjoy it. And is that going to be a Christmas present?
Yeah, I need to buy it a frame. I don't have a frame that's big enough, so I need to buy it a frame.
Well, that'll be fun to go pick something out for your grandma. So would you say that's like your favorite portrait that you've done? It's
up there. I think this one is of myself, my husband, and the dog. Like that's sort of what dress I wore at our wedding day.
Gorgeous.
We had a very fast, like I planned that wedding, like I planned 3 weddings basically.
Oh, wow.
Because I got proposed and we were like, hey, next summer. And then my dad got diagnosed with cancer. So I was like, okay, this winter. And then we got some more bad news. And I was like, okay, this fall.
Oh, wow.
So we got married in September, and a week later, my dad passed. So it was both good timing and also like everything was happening. So I wore my dad. We went to a restaurant. I rented like a private room in a restaurant, and I had a white dress. My dad's like, "You're not gonna wear that, would you? Like, it's so awkward." So I was like, "No, wear something else." So I actually went out with Ian and I picked out this dress, and it's pink with like shimmery stuff on it. So
I love that.
It was
way to make it your own too. I mean, that makes the memory all the more special, is that, you had to make a lot of adjustments, sure, but then at the end of the day, you got to do something like totally unique and totally you for your family. And that's great.
Yeah, it was very sweet. We were only 16 people, so it was small, but meaningful.
Yeah, the important people there.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. So have you made many other portraits, or has it just kind of been the personal ones?
So I haven't commissioned anything, and I don't think I would, because it takes so long.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It takes me so long. I'm like, I don't even know how I'd price that.
Yeah. You mentioned that, cross-stitching always struck you as something that would take so much time. Has it taken as much time as you thought it would, or more time or less time than you thought before, as you were getting into it?
I think I kind of jumped into these huge projects.
Yeah.
Because this is a 10-person cross stitch that I just showed you. And I send 8 adults and 2 dogs to my in-laws for last Christmas.
That one's a big one too.
Yeah, I totally underestimated. I was attending one of your classes, and I was reading the comments, or someone was saying like 2 hours per person, whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, like this is reasonable, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever. I definitely started it too late. I started in December, and I was still stitching throughout Christmas and New Year's. So they got a very late Christmas present, but they liked it a lot. So yeah. So then when you had the I am Stitch People contest, whatever, I realized that one half person takes like 2 days. Okay. 2 evenings sort of thing.
Sure, yeah.
So when are we broadcasting this?
I'm probably like January, February, I would think.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I did this one for my friend who started like her own business.
I love that. It's a Sprinkles and Smiles Bakery, and it's got a cute little I would say just under the waist, right? And up little person with a baker hat, chef's hat.
Yeah.
So cute.
So that's.
And are you giving that to her for Christmas?
Gift.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. I was going to say, yeah, so she can't see the interview before Christmas. That was smart. I love it. I'm impressed that some of your first projects that you tackled were so massive. That is so inspiring and so cool. Well, hey, go big or go home. I love it. I think that's great.
Yeah.
What's crazy?
This one is my sister and I. Oh, she was visiting Vancouver a couple of weeks ago, and on our last day, we had basically the same shirt on.
Yeah, it's cute. It's like 2 little side by side with like colorful striped shirts.
Yeah. So I came out of the bathroom, or she came out of the bathroom, and we looked at each other and it's like, you're wearing almost the same shirt. And we have a running joke going on that we're like sisters whenever we match clothing. I think it originated because I wanted to say we're like twins, except I said sisters, and then she thought it was hilarious because we are sisters.
Right.
So now underneath it says Kato Sistri, which means like sisters.
Instead of being like twins, you're like sisters, except that you are sisters. I love that. That's so funny. Yeah. I love that you take opportunities to make Stitch People portraits to commemorate specific memories and specific moments, instead of just like a general family portrait or something. It's like, your friend starting her bakery, or this memory with your sister, or that particular family photo with, one missing your dad and one missing the uncle, which I think is such a funny detail. And now everybody can be in the photo. I think that's such a really great way to tackle portraits, because a lot of people get a little stymied, like, well, I did my family, now what? How many portraits do I really need? But it's sort of like photos around your house. Like, you can have a photo of you and your husband on your wedding day, and you and your husband on vacation, and you and your mom when she comes to visit, or, like, there's people have different photos around their house. So why not have, different little portraits that sort of are memories of different things? I think that's such a cute idea. So fun. Are you giving that one to your sister for Christmas as well?
I am.
Cool. Good for you, getting ahead of it this year. Learned your lesson, right?
Yeah, lessons learned. It's funny because I kept secret that I do portraits. Like, I didn't put anything on social media except for the Facebook group because it was private, because I didn't want to let too many people know that I'm doing this, because I didn't want anyone to expect it and not get it.
Smart.
And now I have a couple of people who have hinted that they're like what I'm doing. So they're going to get one this year, but I'm slowly working through a list. And
have you prioritized that list at all? Is there any rhyme or reason to the order?
A little bit. I think it's immediate family, and closest friends. And then the third tier is friends who are really good friends.
Yeah, right.
But not quite family.
Yes,
but
yeah,
have
you gotta
shown
go
interest.
closest and then kind of out from there. That's smart.
Yeah.
It does get to be that way though, doesn't it? Where people are like, oh, you do, crafts of some kind. Like people expect like, blankets or scarves from crocheters, or they expect, so, like you start to wonder if you're going to get one of the things that somebody makes. But I think a lot of people don't understand how long it takes to make a Stitch People portrait. So I don't know. I think it's cool.
I love it. If I could do it faster, like I follow a couple of people on Instagram and they just like post something new every day. And
I don't know how.
How? Like there's one person who stitched like a Texas desert with like a couple, and like it's like the whole background is stitched. And I asked him, like, how long did that take you? And they're like 2 days. I'm like, what?
How? That blows I must be doing something wrong. This is why sometimes when I'm teaching classes, I'm like, listen, if you know a better way, do your way, because I'm like you, where I 2 days. I mean, they must have not slept or eaten or used the bathroom and just stitched constantly for 2 days straight. That's the only way I can wrap my head around doing like a bigger full background. Like, whoa, I don't know what I'm doing, but mine take me a while. But I guess it means we're being careful, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
As long as you don't ruin it at the end by putting glue on top of it instead of on the back of it.
So, Marina, do you do any other crafts aside from cross stitching?
I do a little bit of watercolor.
Oh, wow.
My other gift idea is watercolor hand painted cards.
Love that.
But I find painting is a little bit more space consuming because you need to clear off a whole table and like have a water thing and a napkin and your colors and like tape your paper and then wait for it to dry and then layer it and all that stuff. So it takes a lot more preparation, and then takedown is a lot longer as well. And my apartment is really small, so I can't just have a painting desk.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always dream of like someday maybe I'll have a big craft room where I can have all my projects set up all at once, but I truly don't think that'll ever happen. But I do like that with cross stitching. Not only is it portable, but it's also really easy to just like walk away from for a minute and come back to. And it's pretty easy to like pick up where you left off, as opposed to paints. I would imagine like there's like drying time and like you said, cleanup time. Like you can't just leave a brush out. You have to wash it or else it'll ruin the brush. And it's a commitment. It takes a minute. I love that. What other, do you have any other like non-crafting hobbies or interests that keep you busy day to day?
I love swimming.
Oh, wow. Spencer's a swimmer. That's great. I love that.
That's nice. This summer we went to an outdoor pool that's just in the neighborhood. It's like a 15-minute walk. It's right on, it's here seeing the ocean on one side. We went and swam every day this summer. Wow. And I need to go back. Much fun. I need to go back in the pool, but it's so difficult with work and figuring out schedules and COVID and stuff. But I think now scheduling is a little bit easier. Like pools are open a little bit longer and more people are allowed to swim. Love it. So it's just a matter of me deciding to wake up at 6 a.m. one day and go to the pool. Right.
There's just, low key, like complete self-determination. No big deal. That's hard. It's hard to, even for things that you love doing, sometimes it's like, well, I also love sleeping. So
yeah, I think maybe if sleeping was a hobby, that would be my favorite hobby.
I say yes. Why not? Why not? What is it about swimming that you love?
I don't know. I've always loved it. Like I started swimming for the first time in grade 2. It was technically a little late. Well, no, that's a lie. I swam a little bit in kindergarten. We had a swimming pool in our building. It was like one of those tack pools. And I remember doing bobs with my friends. Yeah. And then I ended up doing a glide by myself with kicking and like actually moving a distance.
Okay,
So
cool.
I went to one competition when I was 6. And it was like in a tadpole, and like you jump in and you swim like 5 meters or 6 meters, whatever the length of the pool.
Yeah.
And that was very fun. And then I didn't swim at all until grade 2. And then a swimming coach came recruiting in my school. And I came home and I was like, Mom, I want to try swimming. And I was like, okay. So then it got hard, like, and I liked it more. Whereas every other sport,
like the challenge.
It was weird because I've done figure skating, dance, ballet, karate, basketball, volleyball. I'm missing something. Every time it got really hard, I'd just stop. I would be like, no, I don't like it anymore. And swimming got harder, and I'm like, wait, why didn't the coach use me as an example on how to do this stroke? So I would like work harder so I can be the example person.
Yeah.
And then, it was a fun, like it came easy, I guess, even when it was challenging. And I never ended up doing club swimming, so I didn't make it on the varsity team in university and stuff, which was heartbreaking. But recently I found out that I'm a long distance swimmer. And I've been doing 50s, which is the shortest distance.
Yeah.
So it was funny because I was coaching for a private club, and I would always go to all of the meets and swim for the team and win them points. But this one competition was on a weekend when I was supposed to work both Saturday and Sunday. So the coach was like, just sign up for everything on Friday. Like, but everything on Friday is long distance. It was like 800 free, 400 IM, and 1500 free.
Okay. Which is a lot. All of those are a lot more than 50.
Yes. So she's like, just use your 800 as your warm up. Do the IM as like work hard, because IM is, for the folks out there that don't know what IM is, the individual medley. It's all 4 strokes. You go fly, back, breast, free. And it's 4 lengths of each stroke.
Oh, wow.
And then after you've done 4 lengths of butterfly, you're basically dead. And I hate backstroke. So it was like a challenge. Then when I finished, I was like, oh, okay, I survived. And then the 1500, I actually never swam 1500 before. That's a mile.
Oh, wow.
And I put in a very slow time when I was entering the competition, and I was competing next to 90-year-old ladies. And I finished about 20 minutes before everyone else.
Oh, wow.
Because they were 90 and were
and it sounds like
doing
you
really
also
good.
Did better than you thought you might do, having not particularly trained in that, like that maybe you didn't have a frame of reference for it, but it wasn't so bad. Yeah.
I lost to the person in second place. I lost to them by 2 seconds.
Oh.
And I was crushed. Like 2 seconds on a mile. It's a very small fragment. Right. So had I noticed that I am keeping a good time, just 1 length sooner, I would have been able to beat them.
Darn.
So I was very kind of disappointed with my coaches and my friends and everyone, because no one told me that I'm a long distance swimmer. And why? But it was a good eye opener. So now I go to the pool and I do 1500.
Pretty cool. I love it. I love that you're casually like, oh yeah, we went swimming a lot this summer. And no, it turns out that you're like competitive and you coach and you've trained, and like, that's so cool. What a fun facet. I think you should make a little Stitch People of yourself, like bobbing out of a pool. That would be so fun.
I do have that little package with the swimming people.
Oh yeah. So tell me, you mentioned that you'd have to get up early to go swimming, because of work. Tell me what you do for work.
I work in the corporate office of the BC Ambulance Services.
Okay.
So I'm the supply and office coordinator.
Oh, interesting.
So basically, if you need any pencils, call me up.
There you go. I love it. Do you enjoy what you do?
Yeah, it's really good. Like most people work from home, so the office is really empty. And it's kind of funny when every now and again, we would have a wave of people coming in because they need the printer or something.
Sure.
And they haven't seen each other in months. So they would just take 5 minutes instead of 30 seconds to say hello. And it's kind of entertaining.
Just everybody's so happy to see each other in person for the first time in a long time. That's great. I love that. Okay. Well, I know that we have a little time constraint this evening. So to wrap up, I'm just going to throw some favorite things questions at you and see just some other ways we can relate with you. So do you have a favorite color? We'll start easy. Favorite color?
I'm going to go with a Tiffany blue.
Ooh, good choice. Very classic, very chic. Would you go so far as to say that swimming is your favorite sport?
Yeah.
There it is. Okay, I was going to say, we kind of tapped on that one already. Do you have a favorite animal?
That one is a hard one because I love all animals. I walk on the street and I see a squirrel. I'm like, squirrel.
Same.
So,
woman after my own heart.
I think dogs number 1, cats number 2, and then the rest of them.
I love it. Especially the ones that you can bring home. And you mentioned you have a dog, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Well, there you go. You've got your favorite animal right nearby. I love that. Do you have a favorite vacation destination that you visited?
That's such a long answer.
Ooh. Oh, that's intriguing. Is it because there's too many to name?
There's a lot to name, but the top 2 are Australia, basically Sydney, Cairns, everything in between, and Hawaii.
Wow. You are quite a traveler. That's pretty cool.
It's actually like crazy because if you told me like you're going to live in Sydney from now on, I'll be like, okay. Or if you told me you're going to live on a coffee farm on the Big Island, I'll be like, okay.
You loved them that much. I love that.
Australia was great because it's a warmer version of Vancouver. Cities are like Sydney is a beautiful city. It's so well connected with public transportation. Now I'm sure that people from Sydney are going to argue with me, but I've never seen a better train within a public transit system. It's just big, beautiful, goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's on time.
There's the key.
And we got our scuba diver's license before we went to Australia and dove and saw the barrier reef.
Oh, wow.
And then 2 days later, we did some skydiving over the barrier reef. So it was like a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, that's an adventure.
Into 2 weeks. I got to drive, which is on the wrong side of the street.
Right.
And I had to use a roundabout, which goes the wrong way.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, and when you're driving, your signal change and your wipers are on opposite sides. So I was on the highway and I was trying to change lanes, and all of a sudden my wipers started going off because I clicked the wrong thing.
Oh my goodness.
And Hawaii was amazing because you've got all of the seasons on an island. You feel blue. All you need to do is go to the other side of the island and you've got sunshine. Or you're too hot, go back, it's rainy. You want to see some snow, just climb up the mountain. You want a forest.
I didn't realize Hawaii got snow.
They do. Yeah.
Wow. I bet it makes sense. If you go up a mountain, that's what happens.
Yeah. I forget the name of the mountain. It's a volcano, and they have set up like a thing that you look at stars.
Like an observatory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like the largest one in the world, and it's really high up, and it gets like you've never seen so many stars other than when you've been to Hawaii, basically. Yeah, it was great.
That's okay. Yeah, I can see why you're like, these are long answers, because those sound like two very epic and very cool trips. I mean, more than just vacations, like 2 weeks and fun adventures and so many cool memories and so many memories to make portraits of. Okay, my last question, I will say this one's a little bit of an extrapolation of a favorite things question, but I would love to know, if you could have dinner with anyone from history who's passed away, who would you choose?
Honestly, I think a couple of years ago I would have had a different answer.
That's fair. That's fair.
But if I could have another dinner with my dad,
I love that.
I think I definitely say my dad.
Yeah, I love that. I love that over, I mean, everybody always goes like the Abraham Lincoln or like, George Washington, but it's our loved ones that really matter the most. I love that.
It would be nice to meet Coco Chanel in person. But
yeah. You can have brunch with her the next morning. How about that? Coco, I like the Coco Chanel. That's a good number 2. I feel like, was there a movie made recently?
There is something with Lady Gaga about.
Oh, that's Gucci.
Something. Gucci.
That's a Gucci. The House of Gucci. Yes.
Yes.
That one looks good, but anyway. Well, Marina, thank you so much for chatting this evening. Thank you so much for your time. It's so fun to get to know you and to, once we sort of get past the cross stitch that we all have in common, it's so cool to see what a illustrious and adventuresome and brave and incredible person you are. So thank you for sharing yourself this evening. Is there anything else you want to say or share before we wrap up?
Maybe just a note that if anyone is looking for something to watch, The Good Place is a great 7-season, something that every season gets better than the previous one.
Can confirm. Is that your latest show?
No, I've seen
latest and greatest.
No, my latest show is Ted Lasso, which is also great.
Also great.
But everyone's talking about Ted Lasso, so I feel like if you haven't heard about Ted Lasso, Ted Lasso is amazing. But The Good Place is. I've seen the first season as many seasons as they are.
Yeah.
As many times as seasons they are. Because we saw it once, and then the second season came out, and we watched the first season and the second season, then the first season, second season, third season. So
that's a great way to do it. You're like very familiar. I love that show.
Yeah. And
I think
it's really good.
It's really good. It's like you said, it's exactly what you said. Each season is better than the previous one. And I have to say, personally, as far as like series finales goes, I won't give anything away, obviously, but like the very last episode of the very last season, no more after that. I have never been so satisfied with the ending of a show ever. I think they just nailed it.
Yeah, it's sometimes you watch something and it's like, okay, you ran out of ideas.
Right.
And then they end it. It's like, I'm not sure. Like Game of Thrones, I've heard. I haven't watched it, but I've heard.
Don't waste your time.
But I was very satisfied with how they ended it. And
it just feels good. Like it feels the whole show and the ending. Human. Yeah.
It kind of points out some pet peeves that people have about other people and how those pet peeves could be in us as well.
Yeah.
How it's impossible to be a good person in our day and age.
Yeah. And how we maybe just need to cut ourselves and each other a lot of slack because we're all just kind of doing our best. So I love that. Well, what a great note to go out on. I'm glad for that suggestion. And all of you make sure to say hello to Marina and the Stitch People community, for we have a new friend in her. So thank you. Thank you. Okay, do you all see what I mean about Marina here and how just subtly, confidently lovely she is, and smart and talented and kind and all of the best things? I really enjoy getting to know her, and I hope you did too. I hope you feel like you've got a friend in her, especially if you see her around the Stitch People community or online. So Thank you so much, as always, for listening to the Stitch People podcast, to today's episode with Marina, and enjoying conversations with Stitch People like you. I would super appreciate if you haven't, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a rating and review. It really helps us out. And you can check out everything we have to offer at stitchpeople.com, and please connect with us on Instagram and Pinterest. We'd love to see everything you are up to. Lastly, I want to thank you all in the Stitch People community for your support of us and your positive and cooperative encouragement of one another. I'd also like to thank the incredible Stitch People team for making all the magic happen behind the scenes. Our fully licensed jazzy tunage was created by Jonathan Boyle, and our sound designer extraordinaire is the one and only Brandon Yost, who did extra heavy lifting for this episode, and I cannot tell you all how amazing he is. Thank you, Brandon. You are the best. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Happy stitching. The Stitch People podcast is a production of Beansky LLC and Stitch People. Copyright 2022, all rights reserved.